Good evening, and welcome to our first National Civics Bee, sponsored by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. If I could have the audience please silence their phone. We don't want to have any distractions during the Civics Bee so that the students can do their absolute best. I would like to introduce our panel of judges for round 3. We have Judge Kevin Hillman, Lou Hartman, and Colonel James Scott. Our MC for this evening is David Lowe, and he'll introduce himself a little bit more later. I'm Rosalind Pride. I am the Chamber President for this year. The Waynesville-St. Robert Chamber is proud to present tonight's 2025 National Civics Bee, an initiative aimed at encouraging more young Americans to engage in civics and contribute to their communities. Hosted in partnership with the Civic Trust of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation, will inspire middle schoolers to become better informed about American democracy, to engage respectfully and constructively in the community. The National Civics Bee is a nonpartisan initiative designed to inspire young Americans to engage in civic life. Through this competition, students will demonstrate their understanding of civics and propose solutions to real-world community issues. Middle school students in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade from public, private, charter, and homeschools were invited to take part in the first round civics essay competition. After a distinguished panel of judges reviewed the essays, the top 20 students were selected to advance to our local competition tonight, and here these wonderful young people are today. This competition offers a wonderful opportunity for our middle school students to explore issues that matter to their communities, furthering their understanding of civic engagement and fostering responsible citizenship. The Waynesville-St. Robert Chamber believes that empowering young people with the tools to share their voice, develop their leadership skills, and take the first steps towards shaping a better future for our community. The top 3 winners from each of the local competitions across Missouri will be invited to take part in the state finals. And I'd just like to mention that we are one of 3 in the state of Missouri that's hosting the Civics Bee. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you parents and friends.
All right, welcome everyone, and we're thrilled that you're here for this National Civics Bee. But before we get started, in honor of America and our country, let's all stand and give honor to our country by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right. Well, before we begin, let's honor those that are here participating. We thank these students for their efforts thus far, and we want to announce who they are. So I'll just announce their names and what school they're from. So we have Brianna from Waynesville Middle School. We have Vivian from Waynesville Middle School. We have Piper from Waynesville Middle School. We have Brandon from Waynesville Middle School. We have Kellen from Waynesville Middle School. We have Michaela from Waynesville Middle School. And we have Charlie from Ladue Middle School. Valina from Waynesville Middle School. Haley from Waynesville Middle School. Brooklyn from Waynesville Middle School. Emily from Waynesville Middle School. Andy from Waynesville Middle School. Caitlin from Waynesville Middle School. Annalee from Waynesville Middle School. Erica from Waynesville Middle School. Aaron from Waynesville Middle School. Grant from Waynesville Middle School. Noel from, you guessed it, Waynesville Middle School. All right, so we want to invite everybody, as we've already mentioned, to join along with us this evening, and we've got a few ground rules we want to go over. You've got the link that you've already joined. I believe many of you indicated that, and we're glad that you're going to participate because we think it will enhance your experience this evening, and certainly maybe test your knowledge to some extent as well. So, what we'd like to do before we get started, again, many of these ground rules were covered already, but I do want to go over those ground rules for at least one student or more that did not hear them earlier. So let me remind you again, if you have any cell phones, smartphones, smartwatches, or any of those things that are technology-based, please let us know now because they're not allowed on stage. Does anyone have that? If they have one or those, please raise your hand. All right, seeing no hands. What we want to do now is just go over this competition again and the outline of how that will work. First of all, there are 3 rounds this evening, students. In the first 2 rounds, you as finalists for this competition will answer civics-based quiz questions. Each finalist will then answer the same multiple choice questions within the allotted time. Here's the way that works. Each question and answer option will be read aloud by me. After I read the question and answers, then you will be given 30 seconds, and that clock will start as soon as I'm finished with that last answer. So once that starts, you need to realize you have 30 seconds to give your answer. 1 point will be awarded for a correct answer. Incorrect answers not submitted before the time runs out, receive 0 points. So obviously, it's to your benefit if you will submit an answer, even if you're not certain of the answer being correct. So, once you've selected an answer, you need to realize that it's in the queue and that is your final answer. You cannot change it after you submit your answer. So please do not return to the answer options to change your response. It will not be allowed. At the end of round 1 and 2, we'll display the leaderboard on the screen. You'll be then able to see which students are in the lead. The 5 finalists with the highest scores at the end of round 2 will advance to round 3. If there's a tie for 5th place, I will announce a tiebreaker round of 3 questions. Only the students who are tied for 5th place will answer those questions. If you are not tied for 5th place, you will not be required to answer those tiebreaker questions. At the end of the tiebreaker, I will announce the finalists who will advance to round 3. Now, students, we remind you that during the quiz rounds, if you have any technical issues, as Ms. Murray has already pointed out, or anything goes wrong at any time, please raise your right hand so that we can help you and assist with any technical issues you may be having. And we know that everyone here is going to participate with integrity, but you need to be reminded that you need to keep your eyes on your own tablets, answer your own questions. And during these rounds, 1 and 2, the audience members can also play along and answer with you all as finalists and increase their civics knowledge. So audience members, please, again, the URL code that you were given, you may utilize that to participate during this process. So again, is everyone's device working at this time? Anyone having any technical issues that need to be addressed before we get started? All right. Again, we're here to have fun. We're here to enjoy a great competition, and we want everyone to enjoy this process. So, without further ado, we will begin that process of asking you those questions. So again, you understand the process. Once I'm finished with the last answer, the 30-second timer will start. Let's begin. All right. First question in round 1 is, what is the name for for the first 10 amendments of the United States Constitution? A, the preamble. B, the Bill of Rights. C, the Establishment Clause. Or D, the Constitution? And the answer is the Bill of Rights. Question 2. Which amendment to the United States Constitution is primarily associated with the principle of equal protection of the law? A, the 14th Amendment. B, the First Amendment. C, the 8th Amendment. Or D, the 4th Amendment? And the answer is A, 14th Amendment. Third question. Why was Article 7 of the United States Constitution necessary? A, to define the powers granted to the federal government. B, to create a procedure for disputes between states. C, to outline how the Constitution would be formally approved and take effect. Or D, to explain the rights guaranteed to individual citizens. And the answer is C, to outline how the Constitution would be formally approved and take effect. The fourth question. What is the primary role of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, within the Department of Justice? A, enforcing immigration laws. B, investigating and enforcing federal laws related to domestic security and criminal activity. C, managing the nation's prison system. Or D, protecting the president and other high-ranking officials. D, protecting the president. And the answer is And the answer is B, investigating and enforcing federal laws relating to domestic security and criminal activity. The fifth question. Who is the primary author of the Compromise of 1850? A, Henry Clay. B, John C. Fremont. C, James Talmadge. Or D, John C. Calhoun. And the answer is A, Henry Clay. The sixth question. Which of the following best explains how civil society interacts with different levels of government and supports constitutional democracy? A, civil society organizations take over essential government functions, reducing the need for public governance. B, civil society works solely at the local level to advocate for community-based issues without interacting with state or national governments. C, civil society acts as a check on government power, advocating for transparency and preventing abuses at local, state, and national levels. Or D, civil society strengthens government control by aligning all activities with government policies and priorities. And the answer is C. Civil society acts as a check on government power, advocating for transparency and preventing abuses at local, state, and national levels. Question number 7. Where in the text of the Constitution can one find the Electoral College? A, Article 1, Section 2. B, Article 2, Section 1. C, Article 1, Section 2, or D, Article 2, Section 2. And the answer is Article 2, Section 1. The 8th question. What was the primary issue in Afroyim versus Rusk in 1967? A, whether voting in a foreign election stripped U.S. citizenship. B, whether dual citizenship was constitutional. C, whether immigrants could be naturalized. Or D, whether residency was required for citizenship. And the answer is A, whether voting in a foreign election stripped U.S. citizenship. The 9th question is, why did Madison argue in Federalist number 10 that a large republic is better than a small one? A, a large republic can better control factions by making it harder for any one group to dominate. B, the small republic is too weak to protect individual rights. C, a large republic ensures that only the wealthiest and most educated citizens participate in government. Or D, a large republic allows state governments to have more control over national policies. And the answer is A, a large republic can better control factions by making it harder for any one group to dominate. And the 10th question is, during a criminal trial, the judge allows testimonies from a witness who was not disclosed in advance, violating the defendant's right to prepare a defense. How does this situation illustrate the application of due process, and what are the potential consequences for the trial? A, it demonstrates that the defendant's right to a public trial is paramount, which means the testimony can still be used regardless of the preparation time. B, the violation highlights the importance of procedural fairness and due process, potentially leading to an appeal if the defendant is convicted, as it undermines the ability to adequately prepare a defense. C, the situation shows that the jury can disregard any unfair procedures, as their role is solely to determine guilt based on the presented evidence. Or D, this illustrates that due process violations are minor and typically do not impact the final verdict, so the trial can proceed without repercussions. And the answer is B, this violation highlights the importance of procedural fairness and due process, potentially leading to an appeal if the defendant is convicted, as it undermines the ability to adequately prepare a defense. This ends the first round, and we should be seeing the leaderboard being displayed on the screen, showing the top 10 scores from round 1. Sure everyone recognizes those faces or names. Congratulations, students, on a great first round. Just take a brief break in place, and we will begin round 2 in just a moment. Any of you students having any problems with your devices? Everything working properly? Okay, well, we'll get some audience participation before we begin round 2. Got a question for the audience here. How do you plan to celebrate America's 250th birthday on July 4th, 2026? Answer in? All right. Let's see what looks like attendance is the, no, yeah, maybe by a little bit or about the same as, well, about an equal tie there with 2 of them. So, all right, well, significant day in our nation's history, just in a little over a year, so that will be something we will all celebrate together for sure. All right, students, you ready for round 2? Begin the leaderboard after 1 round. And if everybody's tablets are working correctly, we'll move on to round 2. All right. First question in round 2 is as follows. Who became the 4th Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court in 1801 and was largely responsible for establishing the Supreme Court's role in federal government? A, John Jay. B, Salmon P. Chase. C, John Marshall. Or D, John C. Calhoun. And the answer is C, John Marshall. Question number 12. Which of the following is the best definition of the civic virtue of integrity? A, to avoid excess or extremes. B, to recognize that one's ignorance is greater than one's knowledge. C, to always agree with others' points of view. Or D, to tell the truth, expose untruths, and keep one's promises. And the answer is D, to tell the truth, expose untruths, and to keep one's promises. Question number 13. Which of the following best captures the anti-federalist perspective on the powers granted to the new federal government by the Constitution? A, they believed the Constitution provided a strong framework for protecting individual liberties. B, they were concerned that the powers of the federal government would lead to the erosion of state sovereignty and individual rights. C, they supported the establishment of a strong national military to ensure security. Or D, they felt that the federal government should have exclusive control over all economic matters. And the answer is B. They were concerned that the powers of the federal government would lead to the erosion of state sovereignty and individual rights. Question number 14. The Environmental Protection Agency, otherwise known as the EPA, enforces regulations under which federal laws to protect air and water quality? A, the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act. B, the National Environmental Policy Act and the Water Quality Act. C, the Endangered Species Act and the National Parks Act. D, the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act and National Energy Act. And the answer is A, the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act. Question number 15. How did their Judeo-Christian heritage contribute to the founders' belief about natural rights? A, it promoted the view that only religious leaders are entitled to define and protect natural rights within society. B, it It taught that natural rights are granted only to those who follow certain religious doctrines. C, it emphasized that all individuals are created in the image of God and thus all have certain inalienable rights. Or D, it encouraged the idea that natural rights are irrelevant to governance and should not influence political structures. And the answer is C. It emphasized that all individuals are created in the image of God and thus all have certain inalienable rights. Question number 16. What motivated Rachel Carson to write Silent Spring, challenging the widespread use of pesticides? A, her desire to advance corporate environmental policies. B, her concerns about the long-term ecological impact of DDT. C, her belief that agricultural chemicals were economically inefficient. Or D, her collaboration with the pesticide industry to develop safer alternatives. And the answer is B, her concerns about the long-term ecological impact of DDT. Question number 17. The nullification crisis of the 1830s arose when South Carolina claimed the right to nullify federal tariffs it deemed unconstitutional. Which founding principle was most contested during this crisis? A, federalism by debating the balance of power between states and the federal government. B, consent of the governed by asserting that states could override federal decisions. C, popular sovereignty by allowing states to act on behalf of their citizens. Or D, freedom of speech by the challenges that arose over South Carolina citizens expressing their opinions on this issue. And the answer is A, federalism, by debating the balance of power between states and the federal government. Question number 18. Which of the following scenarios best shows the execution of the Freedom of Information Act? A, a federal agency automatically releases all documents requested by citizens without reviewing them for sensitive information. B, a journalist submits a formal request to a government agency for access to records related to a specific policy decision, and the agency possesses the request within the mandated time frame. C, a state government independently decides to ignore the Freedom of Information Act request without any consequences from the federal government. Or D, a public official denies access to records without providing a justification or following the established procedures outlined in the Freedom of Information Act. And the answer is B. A journalist submits a formal request to a government agency for access to records related to a specific policy decision, and the agency processes the request within the mandated time frame. Question number 19. In the Politics, Aristotle differentiates between different types of government based upon their purpose and effectiveness. What is the key factor he uses to analyze these types? A, the number of laws enacted. B, the extent to which the government benefits the rulers versus the citizens. C, the size of the government bureaucracy. Or D, the level of technological advancement in the government. And the answer is B, the extent to which the government benefits the rulers versus the citizens. Question number 20. Which of the following best analyzes the significance of the 10th Amendment in the context of federalism in the United States? A, the 10th Amendment reinforces the power of the federal government by explicitly stating its authority over state laws. B, the 10th Amendment serves as a constitutional affirmation of state sovereignty, preserving powers not delegated to the federal government. C, the 10th Amendment has little practical impact, as federal law typically supersedes state law in most areas of governance. Or D, the 10th Amendment limits the ability of states to legislate on issues that are strictly reserved for the federal government. And the answer is B, the 10th Amendment serves as a constitutional affirmation of state sovereignty, preserving powers not delegated to the federal government. Students, congratulations and thank you for your participation in round 2. Also a special thank you to our audience for participating and joining in. Hopefully you've learned something. And now we want to take a break. You all take a break and relax while the judges prepare their notes and scoring forms for deciding the 5 finals. Okay. All right, students. We do have a tie for 5th place, as you can see on the leaderboard. And what that means is we need to determine who's going to be our 5th place finalist. So there's a process to do that. It just means you get to answer more questions to show your knowledge. So, congratulations on the 5 finalists with 3 tied for 5th place at this point. And now, what I'd like for you all to do, give them a big round of applause. I'm going to name those who are tied for 5th place. And you 3, the others, I need everyone to turn their tablets over face down. The 3 that I announced, I need you to keep your tablets up because we're going to ask you a series of questions which will determine who is the tiebreaker. Okay? Meaning who will be our 5th place student. All right. Vivian, Haley, and Emily, you will participate in the tiebreaker. The other finalists will not answer the following questions. Only Vivian, Haley, and Emily. So, with that said, we are going to move on to the tiebreaker round. And we've got a question for the audience before we start that tiebreaker round. Okay. Now, let's go ahead with the tiebreaker round, and what you will do, you 3 that that I mentioned, you're going to answer the questions in the exact same format that you just answered 20 questions, right? So you know exactly how that format is going to work. I will read the question, I will read the answer, and then, after I read the answer, you will have 30 seconds to answer the question. Anyone have any questions before we get started? Everybody's tablets is participating. We only should have 3 tablets up. The other one should be face down. Everybody's is working. All right. Let's begin this tiebreaker round. First question is, for you 3 only. What decision of Theodore Roosevelt reflects his belief in government intervention to regulate industry? A, allowing monopolies to operate without restrictions. B, deregulating railroads in order to lower prices. C, breaking up trust to restore competition in the marketplace. Or D, enforcing tariffs to protect American industries from foreign competition. And the answer is C, breaking up trust to restore competition in the marketplace. The next question for you 3. Why did the Supreme Court uphold the Social Security Act in its early rulings? A, it believed the act violated rights, state rights, imposing federal regulations on local economies. B, it determined that the act was necessary for Congress to regulate interstate commerce. C, the court found that it provided guaranteed profits to private companies involved in the program. Or D, the court recognized as a legitimate exercise of Congress's power to tax and spend for the general welfare. And the answer is D, the court recognized it as a legitimate exercise of Congress's power to tax and spend for the general welfare. And the last question for you 3 in this tiebreaker round. How did the Federalists respond to anti-Federalist concerns that the Constitution created a distant and unresponsive national government? A, the Federalists argued in Federalist number 10 that a large republic would dilute factionalism and prevent any one group from dominating the government, which would ensure the will of the people would be represented. B, the Federalists believed that the necessary and proper clause would allow the states to pass all laws that were needed. C, the Federalists argued that giving the states a veto over national legislation would ensure local government maintained enough authority. Or D, the Federalists argued that a Bill of Rights would ensure the government remained responsive to the needs of the people. And the answer is A, the Federalists argued in Federalist number 10 that a large republic would dilute factionalism and prevent any one group from dominating the government, which would ensure the will of the people would be represented. Looks like we still have a three-way tie. There is a way to break this tie, and it's actually going to be based on how quickly they answer the question. But let's see what, we have two that are still tied. No.
Can't, it's hard to see on the screen, but Emily got 2 right. So she won.
So Emily,
Yes.
let's congratulate you. So I believe everyone can see with the addition of Emily to those, we now have our 5 finalists. So again, congratulations, students. Thank you for your participation. If you will, remain here as we enter the final round, round 3. We are going to move to round 3 now that we have a clear top 5.
We're going to take the break.
We are going to take a short break so that the judges can collect their notes and forms and be prepared for round 3. Make sure in round 3, you 5 finalists have your note card. You will need that as you engage with the judges, and you have on that note card, as I understand it, a summation of your essay. So make sure you have that, and after the break, we'll begin round 3.
So all the students have to stay until the end.
Okay. Students, we're going to move to round 3, which is a question and answer with our august set of judges to ask you questions and get to know you a little better. Let me tell you how this is going to work. Again, you just got your note cards, right? You have your note cards, that's important. And the way this is going to work is I'm going to ask each one of you to come up to this podium where I am, and we'll begin with the 5th place and go up to the 1st place after 2 rounds. Now obviously this hasn't been decided yet, that's why we have round 3. But that's the way it's going to work. You're going to come up one at a time, and you will share your 3-sentence summary that you have on your note card that you brought into this competition today. After you do that, you will receive questions from our judges, and they will have 3 minutes to engage you in question and answers. After you go through your 3-minute question and answer session with the judges, then the next student will come up, and I will bring you up, and you will go through the same process. After the last of you 5 students have gone through that process, at that point in time, we'll take a break, and the judges will evaluate you, but it's important that you keep these things in mind because the judges are looking for a number of things, but some of those might be how you show an understanding of civic principles, how you answer the judges' questions clearly and effectively, and how you use specific examples, evidence, and primary sources to support your answers. So please keep that in mind. Before we begin, I'll ask everyone, judges, finalists, is everybody ready to go on to round 3? Are we ready? All right. So we're going to begin with Emily. If you come forward.
So I wrote my essay about drug and alcohol abuse in the state of Missouri. I spoke about rehabilitation departments in Missouri that you can use to utilize, like Valley Hope and Grand Falls, which are 2 very well-known rehabilitations. I also clarified what kind of civics virtues they follow and what their regulations are.
Emily, based on your essay topic, what made Grand Falls important to you based on your civic virtues?
They followed a lot of the civic virtues because the staff in general was very non-judgmental, they were respectful, and they're very well known for being a very safe place. They're known for having good mindsets and just overall abundant resources.
Good answer, Emily. I would ask you, what number 1 problem for many of these issues is funding. Your solutions sounded really good, but where's the funding going to come from?
So I know a lot of nonprofits try not to do that many funding places, but they can run fundraisers that can even go like in schools. So school groups like NJHS or Lighthouse can advertise those groups and possibly help them raise money, along with sharing their company on social media or online.
Emily, my question is, do you think that drug and alcohol abuse is a criminal problem, the two?
I think it's mainly a combination of two because a lot of things can cause that depending on where they grow up, if they grow up around it, or maybe it's just substance abuse because there were around 2,000 deaths just for drug abuse, and a lot of them, that's basically 6% of Missouri, and a lot of them were prescribed or unprescribed medications, so it really depends on both.
Can I ask you maybe a personal question? Do you feel as a teenager that you have been talked to enough about drug abuse and its dangers?
Yes, there is a lot of guidance lessons or just personal lessons that they teach for us, and they take out a whole class period for it, so I know that they think it's very important, and I think everyone knows that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Next, we're going to have Charlie.
In my community, St. Louis, majority black districts receive $1,698 less dollars per student than majority white districts, limiting students' access to essential resources and support. To address this issue, I plan to collaborate with organizations such as the Lilibet Foundation and Ford through Ferguson to volunteer my time, gather resources, raise awareness, and conduct surveys to refine current solutions. This initiative promotes the founding principle of equality by working towards equal educational opportunities for all. It reflects the civic virtue of respect by supporting and empowering those less fortunate than us.
Very good. Very good, Charlie. You also had a very unique topic. One thing I thought to ask you was the impact and importance of educational departments, whether it be the school board, state superintendents. How would you involve those levels of government?
Well, firstly, I think I would start local level so that I can gain credibility in this subject. But I think once I work with these organizations such as the Lilibet Foundation and Ford through Ferguson, and once we start seeing some impacts, that I hope that these state levels or these higher levels and these smaller organizations will come to help us in support with funding and funding these schools, helping us conduct surveys to keep getting data to help our solutions get better and better.
Charlie, I know you had proposed that you would do some things, but what do you think is the long-term solution to making sure that there's no disparity in funding, not only in St. Louis, but across the state of Missouri?
Yeah, well, obviously, the volunteering stuff won't be long-term. It won't help in the span of many, many years. But what I hope we're trying to do is with things such as our surveys and raising awareness on social media, that as more people in the public know about this issue, that we will see the local governments and the state governments provide more funding for these schools that they're crucially missing, that it will create the long-term needed support for them to be great.
Could you give us an example of how the funds could be shared equitably among the schools?
Yeah, so the funds, I hope that these will go to the more poor schools, as currently these majority black districts are not receiving the funding they need because most of the funds come from property taxes. But the issue is that these properties, historically, because of housing discrimination, they're not earning the funds they need. So these schools are much poorer than these majority white districts. So the funding that will come from the state and local level hopefully will all go to these poor districts and even at the playing field.
My question is, you cited the specifics of the St. Louis schools versus some of the suburban St. Louis schools. What about outstate rural schools who also receive less funding? Do you have any ideas on how to treat that disparity as well?
Well, I assume it'd be the same process, but as someone who's just my community, I have these ideas, but Hopefully there are going to be nonprofits such as similar ones to the Little Bit Foundation in 4th through Ferguson that can help address the schools in rural areas instead of just St. Louis areas. But currently my focus is St. Louis, but hopefully as this topic gets more known to the public, that it will go to rural areas in Missouri and cover the whole state, and maybe someday nationwide will address this issue.
Thank you, Charlie. Now we'll have Aaron.
Biases about how disabled people might not feel included in the communities, and there are some programs that can help with that. Yeah.
Aaron, my question is, you talked about some programs that could help. What type of job programs do you think would be the best to help disabled persons in the community, and why?
The city cannot hear you. Will you repeat the
Yes.
question, please?
In your essay, you talked about some programs that help disabled people in the community. I asked you, what types of job programs do you think would best help disabled, and why?
I think people who like can talk a lot, like therapists or something, can help with people who have mental disabilities. Because they can talk.
Aaron, in your own words, can you define what it means when we talk about inalienable rights as it pertains to disabled people?
So disabled people might not feel happy, and one of the inalienable rights are like letting people be happy and stuff. So that like goes against that if they're not happy because they don't feel included in like in their community.
So Aaron, I was, because I'm local, I love the partners that you chose to work with, because I know both of them. How would you work with them to bring awareness to your issue?
So I could like post stuff on social media and talk to the programs with my friends because I know a lot of people. Then they could talk to other people.
All right, so now we're going to have Brandon.
I wrote my essay on abandoned buildings and how they are a major problem for communities, but particularly ours. You see, one of the main issues abandoned buildings cause is homeless people tend to take refuge in them, which there's nothing wrong with that on its own, but it's dangerous to them. They contain dangerous substances like asbestos, mold, lead, and they're just generally filthy. They're not a good place to live. So these people are homeless. They don't have a home. So the last thing they need right now in their time of crisis is health conditions. That is not good. Also, they tend to cause more crime. Like, for example, according to the Center for Community Progress, in Austin, Texas, there were 3.2 times as many drug calls, 1.82 times as many theft calls, and 2 times as many violent calls to blocks that had a significant portion of blighted properties. These statistics were significantly lower at other blocks. In my essay, I cited that My solution to this issue expresses prudence, responsibility, and respect. And it specifically avoids the civic vices of imprudence, irresponsibility, and contempt. And that it, out of the founding principles, it most supported the Natural Rights Foundation, specifically equality, because if property, this will cause property values to go down. This is another issue I forgot to mention while I was talking. Property values will go down due to these houses around these abandoned properties. They will go down, and that's preventing people from being treated equally, because everyone deserves an equal shot at having valuable property. And that's it.
Great summation, Brandon. If you would you please talk to us about how you would actually fund either remediation of these abandoned structures or basically being able to raise them or rid them from these areas?
Well, you see, there are a lot of different companies that specialize in restoration, so before I acquired the funding, I could consult with them. And to actually acquire the funding, I'm willing to bet there would be a lot of people, wealthy people, that own properties that have had their property values go down due to blighted properties. That's another term for abandoned buildings, by the way. So they would most likely be willing to contribute to this issue so that themselves and other people don't have to lose money over these properties. Also, there were probably charities for this.
Well, again, because I'm local, I will tell you that there are grants for it, and many cities go after those. I would ask you, when you were writing your essay, did you think to do a little research about existing laws of abandoned buildings?
I actually did. I just didn't include it in my essay. I don't know what the exact law is called, but I know there's a law that helps fund homeowners in Missouri that if their property values go down due to abandoned buildings. And also there's a reclamation bill where certain organizations can claim abandoned properties and they can repurpose them, they can demolish them, they can do whatever they want to make the property more valuable or safer.
Brandon, my question is, after these properties are fixed up, who gets the ownership, and what if the current property owner objects to your plan to fix up their property?
It's actually a difficult question. You see, for the first part, who gets it? Well, if there's if the owner doesn't object, then I believe that the city should take control of it, and then they could sell it. Or as with that reclamation law, that organization can take charge over it and then sell it, or demolish it if they have to. And if the homeowner objects, then I believe there's a law that allows local governments to take over anyways, but they still have to compensate the homeowner, so I believe that could be invoked, but I'm not entirely sure.
And now we will hear from Grant.
Hello, my name is Grant Good, and in my essay, I came to the conclusion that, again, drug abuse is a major issue in the Pulaski County. I came to this conclusion because, according to an FBI report, Pulaski County has a higher density of drug abuse issues than St. Louis County. And yes.
Okay, Brandon, you know what?
Yeah. You did a great job. And also, another very important topic. I wanted to ask you, you talked in your essay about drug stores in our community, when in fact there's only one. There's only one in St. Robert that you can buy drugs from. Do you know what the current tax is for marijuana?
I do not know the specific number, but I do understand that Missouri has the lowest sin tax rate in the US.
Grant, in your essay, you talked about taxing nicotine specifically. My question was, why only nicotine? Would you also suggest perhaps taxing marijuana or alcohol or any other types of activities like that? What's your thoughts on that?
I think that really any vice or just products that are inviting that should most definitely have an increased sin tax on that, and that can also bring revenue to apply a broken window effect that can reduce drug abuse from multiple ways.
Grant, if you would, could you define the phrase consent of the governed, and what does that mean to you in your own words?
So consent of the governed is usually when a higher force gives a lower force the ability to do what they need when it is not specifically against the guidelines. And to me, that allows more freedom and the ability to do other things.
Can I say that as an old teacher, I'm loving the fact that you use sin tax. Let me ask you this. You talked about getting a petition together and taking it to a local judge. Might I say to you, you almost have to have elected officials involved in such things. Who would you go to?
So I actually was compiling an email to send to the Waynesville City Council to try to get more people that have a political standpoint to help with this cause.
Thank you, All right, congratulations, finalists. Excellent job by everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break so that our judges can tabulate their cumulative score for each one of our finalists. So let's take a break, and we'll be back with the final scores by the judges. Thank you. All right, students, we're going to bring you up. We have we now have our finalists. We have our top three. So if students, you'll come back up to your respective seats, please. We'll conclude our program this evening. Absolutely. Let's give all these students a great hand. Okay, all right, so again, we now have our final three, and our judges have given us the rankings. So again, the idea is the finalists of the final three will be a cumulative score, and we will announce those at the end of our award presentation to all our students. So students, we're going to call you up, and at this time we'll bring you up and we'll give you your awards, and then we'll announce our final three. There we go. All right, so first student, come on up and get your award, Brianna. We're going to have you remain with Cecilia right in the middle. Vivian. Piper. Okay. Brandon. Andy. Annalie. Caitlin. Erica. Aaron. Grant. And Noel.
And I encourage all the families who are here, just come on up right behind me, and we'll give these photos if you want them, okay? So everybody looking at me first, okay? Everybody's holding their certificate up, right? Right way, very good. All right, 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Okay, I'm gonna take a couple of dazzle flash now. And families, come right up on up.
Okay, students, you can return to your seats and we're going to announce the winners. All right, again, we want to thank our audience for participating this evening, being here to support these wonderful students. And now, to announce the winners. The third place winner, who receives a $125 check and a trophy, is Grant. Fittingly, Grant's last name is Good. I should have said that. Congratulations, Grant. And our second place winner, who receives a $250 check and a trophy, is Charlie Fan. Congratulations. Now, for the moment you've been waiting for. Our first place winner, give the drum roll. Receives a $500 check and a trophy is Brandon Buller. that our chamber president will give in just a moment after we take the picture. All right. Again, I want to thank everyone for participating, and of course, there's more opportunities for you students that our chamber president will mention.
Well, what a great event. Let's give our judges and our MC and our students a round of applause. On behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to congratulate the winners and thank all the students for participating and sharing your thoughts on the ways to improve our community. Very good job. And thank you, parents. We know that the success of our students, we have some strong support from family and from our parents. We also like to thank our MC and our wonderful judges for the time that they spent reading the essays and coming up with the questions. So again, on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, the Waynesville-St. Robert Chamber, thank you and have a safe trip home. Good night.
We'll see you later, man. Good to see you.